As we told you earlier, this weekend, survivors of the Ideal Maternity Home in East Chester will unveil a monument to all the so-called butterbox babies who died at the home in the 1930s and 40s. To pay for it, a Metro-based amateur theater group volunteered to write and stage a play about the home and the people who were born there. It's running at the Chester Playhouse this weekend. Here's Daryl McIntyre with a look at the play Aftermath.
For the cast and crew of Aftermath, this weekend is the culmination of months of work.
Anytime? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, hi. I was wondering, where were you born?
The stories they're telling, on the other hand, have been decades in the making. The stories of men and women whose lives began at the Ideal Maternity Home in East Chester.
I was born at the Ideal Maternity Home. I don't know who my parents are. I don't know what my father does for a living. I don't know if I have any brothers or sisters. People who know these things, they're pretty lucky. Still, I guess I'm not the only one. There were a lot of us born at the Ideal Maternity Home.
In fact, hundreds of babies were born at the Ideal Maternity Home and Sanitarium. Run by Lila and William Young, it was supposed to provide young unwed girls with a place to have their babies in secret, for a fee. But many women who entered the home ended up scarred for life.
Lila Young told me my baby died, but she was born healthy after a very difficult birth. It was so bad, I almost died. I screamed for my own doctor, but Lila wouldn't call him. The only help I had was one of the other young mothers. But my baby was born healthy. And she was so beautiful. And I was so proud of her.
The Youngs' glossy brochures and ads belied the fact that the Ideal Maternity Home was really little more than a baby farm, where the cutest, most marketable children were sold for top dollar. Less desirable children were given away, often to couples looking for servants. The most unfortunate died of neglect and malnutrition and were buried unceremoniously in butterboxes. Those butterbox babies made the home infamous, but Aftermath is the story of the survivors.
In some ways, it's almost a documentary at times.
Halifax writer Flo Trillo wrote and directs the play.
Although I've had to adapt it, and I've had to take a certain amount of dramatic license, everything that is set up there comes from newspaper clippings, trial transcripts, the actual stories of the survivors, correspondence from the home, the brochure from the home, so that it is absolutely true.
For example, the story of a Florida judge whose adoptive father stumbled across the home during a vacation in Nova Scotia.
Did you ever hear of the Ideal Maternity Home? It's in Chester. It's not far from here.
No, I haven't. Do they have babies for adoption?
Sure. Just the other day, I saw their ad in the paper, and my wife's got a copy of their brochure. I've been looking through it. Looks like a nice place.
So it's reputable then?
I guess so. It's run by a Dr. and Mrs. Young. She's listed in the brochure as a maternity specialist, so I guess she knows what she's doing.
What else does the brochure say?
Well, let's see. It says that the mothers are being looked after in comfortable, pleasant surroundings, and the babies are strong and healthy. Charming, I think it said.
Well, sounds like just what we're looking for. I think we'll check it out. Does it take long to get a baby?
Not as far as I know. You just go in, pick one out, they say.
We didn't particularly want to stress the idea of butterbox babies, not only because it had been done, but also because the connotation was, dreadful, really, in a lot of people's minds. And it just seemed the logical thing, because we are telling the story of the aftermath of what happened at the home.
My adoptive parents told me from the very beginning that I was adopted. Those caring people are gone now, and I've begun to inquire about my birth parents. I haven't had any luck as yet.
Flo Trillo spent weeks researching the story of the survivors, a job that opened her eyes to an experience she'd never really thought much about before.
Really, I knew nothing about the whole situation, not only the butterbox situation, but adopting in general. As I read it, I came to realize just what a devastating thing it is not to know your roots, not to know who your parents are, whether you have any brothers or sisters. It affected me quite deeply.
Trillo will get a chance to meet some of the people her characters are based on in person tomorrow night. Many of them here for the weekend Survivors reunion will be in the audience.
We're really interested in meeting them, and I think the cast is a little intimidated to be portraying them when they're sitting right out there.
Aftermath is at the Chester Playhouse tonight and tomorrow. Next weekend, the cast and crew will stage 2 performances at the Crichton Community Center in Dartmouth. Darrow McIntyre, CBC News, Halifax.
Thank you, Darrow.